Season 2. Pack your bags, everyone, because we're going to Red Shore City, and the old team is getting back together to put on one heck of a show. Or at least, they will try. I know that when it comes to the original Sing back at the end of 2016, many say that this is nothing more but celebrity karaoke disguised as a kids' movie with cartoon animals. And admittedly, yeah, it kind of is. A good portion is just your typical animated family film with not much of an identity of its own other than the fact that it has an all-star cast of A-list actors singing a bunch of popular songs. However, that doesn't mean that I would call this a bad movie. In fact, I consider this to be one of the better Illumination films. Even with the karaoke aspect, it does have a strong group of characters that are inspiring to see them pursue their dream and face their personal struggles that ultimately makes this film surprisingly heartwarming. And as a theater kid myself who used to literally do shows and song and dance numbers in front of small crowds, I do have a personal fondness for this with how it brings me back to my youthful days on the stage. So considering that it does have an unusual place in movie history as it holds the record for the highest grossing film that never made it to #1 at the box office of all time, of course this calls for Illumination to make an encore and have Buster Moon and his friends to make an even bigger spectacle than what they could put on the Moon Theater. So now that the stage is set for the sequel, will this movie be as legendary as Clay Calloway? Or will this be as bad as how Buster used to run the Moon Theater? Let's find out. The story. Now that the gang at the Moon Theater are making a bigger show, that also means that the stakes have been significantly raised. And by that, I don't mean that Buster's dream and his theater are on the line again. I mean that he was told by the biggest entertainment mogul that he better put on that show, or else he is going to die.
I'll give you 3 weeks to get this show up and running.
I won't let you down, sir.
Better not, or I'll throw you off the roof.
So, what does Buster do in this situation? Of course, like last time, lie his way out of a sticky situation and figure out how to make it all work. In a way, the story structure of the movie is strikingly similar to the original, where it's all about these musically talented characters coming together to put on a show, and each of them have a moment to shine in the picture while Moon does what he can to get himself out of trouble. Yes, there is that issue where it feels like it's just repeating itself, but on a bigger scale, the main problem is that it carries the same one as its predecessor where it values quantity over quality. It splits its attention several ways so that its large roster of characters have their individual time to shine, leaving little room for either the plot to properly develop or for the characters to make a true emotional impact. It only has about 100 minutes to tell everything in one shot, so that consequentially feels like it's giving us several small stories that are simultaneously rushed instead of sticking to 1 or 2 narratives and make the most out of them. I get that it has to feel like the original and replicate the same flow to define it as a Sing movie, but it doesn't help when that also means to include the same flaws that hinders the first as well. And it kind of is too bad because it does have some materials that actually work and could have really made this more of a spectacle that it wanted to be. I'll go more into details later when looking at each of the characters, but there are some plots where they feel a bit like a throwaway or just filler, like Mina's love story or Johnny's feud with his dance teacher. But there are others that I really wish that they were expanded across the whole picture, especially the pursuit of recruiting Clay Calloway. That one is not just the strongest plotline, but also the one that packs the biggest emotional punch with the legend's struggle to return after the passing of his wife.
You just need to play again.
No, I can't. I haven't even heard one of my songs in over 15 years. And for good reason.
But even when all those plots try to do their own thing, they all serve the same purpose where it's not really meant to tell a story, but rather to build up to the grand finale of the picture where we see the big show they were all working on prior. It does weaken the writing a little due to the journey to get there is not as engaging to see the outcome of what the cast went through, But I would lie if I said that the show itself wasn't awesome. Yes, it's mainly celebrities singing popular songs, but man, did they really make celebrities singing popular songs fun to watch and have it feel like an actual big-budgeted Las Vegas type show. At the very least, the show they're trying to make is worth watching itself, but the story that builds up to that moment, maybe not so much, especially in the context of a movie. The animation. Well, if Buster is going to make a show bigger than what he could fit in the Moon Theater, then the team at Illumination has to also go bigger with their animation. I know very well that this is an aspect that has been heavily criticized by the animation community in terms of their features, and play a significant factor as to why not many cartoon fans share their love with the studio, amongst other criticisms, of course. In the case of Sing 2, however, I don't believe this will change their point of view, and admittedly, even I find that there is a flaw with the visuals. I might as well have that out of the way, but my personal criticism with the animation is how this is a world of anthropomorphic animals. Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate that there is a wide variety of different animals featured to build this world, and they are decently designed for each of them to look more friendly and have that charm to be easily approachable for kids. Not to mention how they incorporate a great amount of texture to believably sell their anthropomorphic look, like their skin, fur, or scales, and how they interact with their clothing. However, my issue is not that they are animals, it's that this doesn't really do much about it. Seriously, why does this movie have to feature anthropomorphic animals? There's not much of a validation as to why these characters have to be who they are, like why is Rosita a pig, or why is Johnny a gorilla, or why is Buster even a koala? I get that the first does play with their species a little, but in here, it just feels like an asset that was included because the first one did it and never fully understood why. I get some could say that it gives Sing its identity, but I'm just asking, would it make a difference if the population of the film were to be humans instead of animals?
You take me places that tie up my reputation, manipulate my decisions. Baby, there's nothing holding me back.
But with that out of the way, this is not to say that this animation is bad. Quite the opposite, actually. I know I went a little heavy on the animal aspect, but I am aware that's relatively minor. In fact, I find that the animation as a whole is pretty spectacular. With most of the characters already established, a lot of the energy was put onto the world around them and the show itself, emphasizing two factors to capture the viewer's attention: detail and colors. With the colors, it is vibrant and it is everywhere. It does know when to pull back to set the mood, like making Calloway's house more bleak to present Clay's solitude, but when it wants to be fun or really wants to grab audiences' attention, it collaborates with the effects and the lighting to be as lively as possible. As for the detail, it already established that Red Shore City is a huge place, but part of what makes it shine is the large amount of detail to have that Las Vegas look and show how it is bursting with life and have it be an entertainment capital with all the rich luxuries anyone could dream of.
Guys, this is the entertainment capital of the world.
But then there is one more component that stands out in order to immerse audiences into feeling like they are watching an actual Vegas show: the choreography. In both this and the original Sing, they feature some of Illumination's best character animation with the way they move and dance to make the film feel engaging and make the musical moments more exciting. In Sing 2, a bigger show requires bigger dances, and a lot of the training and the numbers that go with them, added with the detail and colors, results in making the big show one of Illumination's best animated achievements yet. I wouldn't go as far and say that this is the greatest animation in recent years, especially with a few questionable creative choices, but this is the kind of film where I could say that the people who worked on it really did put on a show. The characters. Sing is known to be one of those animated films with a prominently all-star cast, and not only did those big names return for the sequel, but even more is added to this massive list to help make the show more grand than ever before. Sure, there are a few that went missing and not even brought up in the second, like Mike is still on the run from those bears, and Eddie somehow disappeared. Yet Nana is surprisingly still around.
Nana Noodleman? She's still alive?
Oh, yes.
But like I said before, this movie has an issue of quantity over quality. And while it's fun to see all these people come together for this one picture, there's not enough room to make any of them significantly make an impact to the film. In fact, some of the recurring ones go through the same arc as before. Let's begin with the master showman himself, Buster Moon, a theater owner with big dreams who finds himself in the same situation. Lie his way into getting a show in Red Shore City and try everything he can to beat the odds and make it all happen. Even when he's not good at it, and his assistant is the old and clumsy iguana, Miss Crawley. Along with him are Ash, a rock star who is also a major Clay Calloway fan and is key in bringing him back to the public, Mina, a young girl who has to overcome her shyness so that she can perform in a romantic number with the egocentric Darius. She never had a boyfriend before, but that did change when she met a striking elephant voiced by none other than Pharrell Williams. What? It's an Illumination movie. If they can make him the narrator of their Grinch adaptation, then of course they'll make him fall in love with a literal elephant. Then there is Johnny, who has to once again prove to himself that he is more than what he is perceived by others. But this time, he has to confront the intimidating dance instructor, Klaus Kickenclobber, with the help of a street dancer named Nushi.
That is rubbish, so bad.
Ow, he's freaking me out.
Tippy toes, tippy toes. I don't see your tippy toes.
And finally, with the recurring cast, there's Rosita, a mother who is getting a second chance at her dreams and often tagged with the eccentric dancer Gunter, but must confront her fear of heights if she ever wants that leading role. As for the newcomers, there is the villain of the picture, Jimmy Crystal, the media giant who wants everything to go his way and does not tolerate being made a fool of, which unfortunately is a common occurrence with Buster, and when he gets even a taste of humiliation, he vows serious vengeance to the point that he will even get out of his way to kill Moon when he gets the chance. Along with Crystal, there is his daughter Portia, the ditzy valley girl who can definitely sing, but can't really act. She can be a problem for the show, but she has to be on so that they can keep Crystal happy. And then there is the legend himself, Clay Calloway. In the past, he was the greatest rock star who ever lived. But then after the passing of his wife several years ago, he abandoned his music and lived as a recluse since. Throughout his plotline, the film explains how the one person he lost meant everything to him and was his source of inspiration for his music, yet after all these years, he was never able to move on and let his grief be his biggest chains that's keeping him from returning to the stage.
I have run through the field. It's okay.
Admittedly, a good amount of them do feel unnecessary. Not bad, but maybe pointless. And yet, there are also some that are great and play a major part in giving the feature its emotional core and the recurring theme of following your dreams. It's just too bad that, with the latter, they don't have enough time to make the most out of who they are to have their roles develop a stronger story. Not to mention a disappointment if you want to see a specific actor or musician like Bono because there's just not enough time for anyone. There are good characters in this, and I'd even say some of them are quite enjoyable. But, you know what they say, too many cooks spoil the broth. These guys can definitely put on a great show, but maybe not a great movie. Sing 2 tries to make itself even bigger than before, but the results are more or less the same with an average animated film. In a way, it's like the first Sing, but with a U2 DLC to expand it. Because it values quantity over quality, it ends up having too many characters and plot lines who overcrowd the picture and make the writing feel like a cluttered mess. Then again, it does redeem itself thanks to the colorful and grand animation that delivers an outstanding finale, along with some charming characters that can give the movie a little bit of heart. Since this is a sequel to Sing, it depends on not just how you feel about the first film, but also the idea of an all-star jukebox musical. If you don't mind or actually do enjoy them, then you'll most likely have a good time with Sing 2. If you completely resent them, well, you're honestly not missing much with the sequel. Besides, I could say now that the trailers reveal way too much. Just watch those and you could technically say that you watched the movie. In fact, the clips you see in this review are from the trailers, so I think I uploaded the whole movie without uploading the whole movie. I do agree that this is just another film where celebrities sing a bunch of familiar tunes. But then again, at least they had fun with it.
I'm beginning to like this guy.